The Kravax guards never bothered to check Dr. Jenna Harrison's credentials too closely. Why would they? She was just another human medic, captured during their raid on the Frontier Medical Station. Their first mistake was assuming that the trembling in her hands came from fear rather than carefully controlled rage. "Move faster, soft flesh," the guard chittered, mandibles clicking in irritation as they marched her through the massive prison ship's corridors. The harsh purple lighting reflected off their chitinous armor, highlighting structural weaknesses that Jenna's trained eye couldn't help but catalog. "Sorry," she stammered, playing up the nervous doctor act. "We humans aren't built for speed. Especially not those of us who spend our days in medical labs." She pretended to stumble, using the moment to note the guard rotation patterns and security camera placement. The taller guard laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You should be grateful, human. Most of your kind we simply terminate. But our warriors require medical attention, and you creatures have proven useful in that regard." Jenna clutched her medical kit closer, the one piece of equipment they'd allowed her to keep. Another mistake. They'd scanned it for weapons, of course, but they didn't understand human ingenuity. Didn't realize that in trained hands, a simple bone saw could become a plasma cutter, or that a cardiac stimulator could be reprogrammed into an electromagnetic pulse generator. Of course, she nodded quickly. "Happy to help. Though I should warn you, my experience with non-human physiology is somewhat limited. Mostly just patching up mining accidents and the occasional space flu." They reached a massive security door, and Jenna's internal map of the vessel updated. 3 levels down from the command deck, 2 up from engineering. The vibrations through the deck plating told her everything she needed to know about the ship's drive configuration. "Your skills will be tested soon enough," the shorter guard announced. "We have some difficult specimens that require medical attention." The cell block beyond the door was a testament to the Kravax's arrogance. Multiple species were housed in transparent containment units, each more dangerous than the last. Jenna spotted at least 3 Class 5 battle organisms and what appeared to be a Nexus assassin. All potential allies, if handled correctly. "This will be your workspace," the guard indicated a sterile medical bay. "You will treat the specimens as needed, under supervision. Attempt to communicate with them beyond medical necessity, and you will be terminated." Jenna set her medical kit down, already calculating how long it would take to convert the cardiac monitor into a short-range communications device. "Understood. Though I really must insist on proper safety protocols. Some of these species carry bacteria that could be deadly to humans." The guards exchanged looks that their universal translators rendered as amusement. They genuinely believed they'd captured nothing more than a cautious doctor. It was almost cute, in a tragically mistaken sort of way. As they left her to set up her equipment, Jenna allowed herself a small smile. She thought back to her last mission briefing with Special Operations Command. Remember, her superior had said, "This is strictly a reconnaissance operation. We need to confirm the rumors about Kravax biological weapons research. No engagement unless absolutely necessary." Well, technically she hadn't engaged anyone yet. And if things went according to plan, she wouldn't have to. But plans had a funny way of evolving, especially when dealing with a prison ship full of the galaxy's most dangerous beings. Jenna began unpacking her medical supplies, each movement precise and measured. The Kravax would learn soon enough that humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. And that sometimes, the most lethal weapon in the galaxy wasn't a plasma rifle or a quantum bomb. Sometimes, it was a simple medical officer with a very particular set of skills. The containment cell's inhabitant watched Jenna with eyes that gleamed like polished chrome. Subject 247, as the Kravax called him, was something she'd never seen before, a hybrid of organic tissue and quantum state machinery that seemed to defy the laws of biology. "Your cellular degradation is fascinating," she commented, making a show of checking readings on her medical scanner. The interface between your organic and synthetic systems should be impossible. In truth, she was using the scanner to map the ship's power grid through the cell's force field. Most doctors, the being replied in a voice like whispered static, don't understand the impossibility they're looking at. He called himself Raziel, though that wasn't the name in his file. His silver-scaled skin rippled with circuits that pulsed in patterns Jenna recognized as military code. She adjusted her scanner's position, replying in the same code through subtle changes in the device's scanning frequency. Status report. Prison systems mapped. 23 high-value targets identified. Awaiting optimal conditions. The guard at the door shifted impatiently. Less talking, more treating, human. Sorry, Jenna fumbled with her equipment. Just trying to understand the patient's unique physiology. These readings are quite remarkable. She pulled out a tissue regenerator, modified to interface with Raziel's quantum systems. This might tingle a bit. Security rotation changes at ship's midnight. Skeleton crew in engineering. Raziel's circuits flickered as the regenerator passed over them. Fascinating response, Jenna muttered, playing the part of the absorbed physician. The quantum resonance is unlike anything in my medical texts. She adjusted the regenerator's settings. Weapons? Armory 2 decks up. Biometric locks. Guards carry neural disruptors. The door hissed open, admitting Commander Vexthor, their carapace gleaming with the markings of high rank. How goes the treatment of our most valuable specimen, Doctor? Oh. Commander. Jenna startled, nearly dropping her scanner. The patient's quantum-organic interface is remarkable. Though I'm seeing some concerning patterns in the cellular structure that could indicate dash. Spare me the medical babble, Vexthor interrupted. Will it survive? Jenna straightened her medical coat. With proper treatment, yes. Though I'll need regular access to monitor the quantum degradation. These systems are delicate. You will have whatever access is required to keep our specimens functional, Vexthor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Though I must say, for someone with limited xenobiological experience, you seem quite knowledgeable. Oh, well, one picks things up, Jenna laughed nervously. Medical curiosity, you know. Can't help studying interesting cases. As the commander left, Raziel's circuits pulsed once more. They're getting suspicious. Jenna pretended to adjust his medical monitors. Then we'll have to move faster. The screams from cell block D were what finally forced Jenna's hand. The Krovaks had brought in something new, something that writhed with tentacles of pure energy and spoke in frequencies that made her teeth ache. They weren't just conducting experiments anymore. They were weaponizing their prisoners. I need access to the main medical lab, she told her guards, letting real urgency creep into her voice. These energy patterns are causing cellular breakdown in the other specimens. If we don't stabilize them, you'll lose half your test subjects within hours. The guards exchanged looks. Over the past weeks, they'd grown almost comfortable with their seemingly harmless human medic. She was efficient, nervous, and completely predictable. Until she wasn't. The main lab was a sterile chamber filled with equipment that would have made Earth's best hospitals jealous. Jenna moved from station to station, muttering medical jargon as she subtly reprogrammed each piece of equipment. The quantum resonance is affecting the containment fields, she explained, fingers flying over control panels. We need to modulate the frequency to prevent cascade failure. What she was actually doing would have given the Krovaks engineers nightmares, if they survived long enough to have them. Commander Vexthor arrived just as she finished her preparations. Our new specimen is performing beyond expectations, they announced. Perhaps you'd like to observe the next phase of testing? Jenna's hands stilled over the controls. In her ear, the subdermal communicator she'd built from spare medical parts whispered Raziel's voice, all assets in position. Commander, she said carefully, these energy readings are extremely unstable. Running more tests right now could reveal exactly how much you've been hiding, Doctor. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Did you think we wouldn't notice? The way you look at our security systems? The subtle changes to our medical equipment? You're not nearly as good an actor as you think. Jenna straightened, dropping the nervous doctor act like a worn-out coat. Actually, she smiled, and there was nothing timid about it now, I'm a much better actor than you think. She hit the final command sequence just as alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Every piece of medical equipment she'd modified activated simultaneously, sending carefully calibrated pulses through the ship's power grid. Containment fields flickered. Security systems crashed. And in every cell block, doors began to open. You know the funny thing about medical technology? Jenna asked as chaos erupted around them. In the right hands, a healing pulse can become a weapon. A tissue regenerator can overload neural pathways. And a simple diagnostic scan? She held up her modified scanner as Vexthor reached for their weapon. Can do this. The pulse that erupted from the device dropped every Kravax in the room like puppets with cut strings. In the corridors beyond, she could hear the sounds of liberation, prisoners who'd been waiting for exactly this moment, guided by instructions she'd passed through coded medical treatments and modified equipment. Secondary systems disabled, Raziel's voice crackled in her ear. Beginning Phase 2. Jenna grabbed her medical kit, now revealed as the weapon cache it had always been, and headed for the door. Behind her, Commander Vexthor struggled to move, their nervous system scrambled by her medical device. You should have checked my credentials more carefully, she told the paralyzed commander. I'm not just a doctor. I'm a specialist in aggressive medicine. The ship shuddered as the first explosions began. It was time to show the Kravax exactly why underestimating humans was hazardous to their health. Rebellion in the medical bay. The medical bay transformed into a command center for chaos. Jenna moved with practiced efficiency, her nervous demeanor replaced by military precision as she coordinated the uprising through repurposed medical equipment. Status report, she commanded into her modified medical comm unit. Around her, freed prisoners of various species worked to fortify their position. Raziel's quantum-enhanced systems interfaced directly with the ship's computers, his circuits pulsing with data. Engineering is secured, his static-laced voice reported. The Nexus assassin from Cell Block C has control of the lower decks. But we have a problem, they're activating emergency protocols. Through the reinforced windows, Jenna watched squads of Kravax warriors converging on their position, their chitinous armor gleaming under emergency lighting. Let them come, she said, pulling medical equipment from storage units. I've been wanting to try some experimental treatments. The first wave of Kravax hit their barricades with devastating force. But they weren't prepared for what awaited them. Surgical lasers, recalibrated to military specifications, cut through armor like paper. Tissue regenerators, reversed to accelerate cellular breakdown, created zones of biological havoc. Even the air itself became a weapon as Jenna released modified anesthetic gases through the ventilation system. Fascinating response to treatment, she muttered, watching a group of warriors collapse after exposure to her specially prepared medical cocktail. Though I should warn you, side effects may include paralysis, unconsciousness, and a severe case of underestimating human ingenuity. A massive explosion rocked the ship. Through their encrypted channel, the Nexus assassin's crystalline voice reported, armory secured. Distributing weapons to capable assets. Jenna nodded, switching her medical scanner to tactical mode. Begin Phase 3. And remember, try to minimize casualties. We're still medical professionals, after all. She paused, watching a Kravax warrior crash through a barricade. More or less. The last prescription. The ship's command deck was in chaos when Jenna arrived. Behind her, liberated prisoners armed with both conventional weapons and her modified medical equipment secured their escape route. Ahead, Commander Vexthor had barricaded themselves with their elite guard, still not quite believing how completely their prison had been turned against them. "This is impossible," Vexthor's voice boomed over the ship's comm system. "You are nothing but a simple medic." "You know," Jenna replied, calibrating her final piece of modified equipment, "for an advanced species, you're remarkably bad at checking backgrounds. Did you ever wonder why a simple medic knew so much about quantum physics and neural interfaces?" She nodded to Raziel, who had integrated himself into the ship's systems so completely that his organic form seemed to flicker between reality and digital space. "Now, Commander, I'm offering you one chance to surrender." "Doctor's orders." The response came in the form of plasma fire that scorched the walls around them. Jenna sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." "Raziel, initiate Protocol Hippocrates." Every piece of medical equipment she'd modified throughout the ship activated simultaneously. Regenerators overloaded power systems. Diagnostic scanners scrambled security protocols. And the quantum interface she'd built into the medical mainframe began rewriting the ship's core programming. "You should have studied human history more carefully," Jenna announced as chaos erupted around them. "Particularly the part about how many of our medical breakthroughs came from military research." The command deck's doors exploded inward. What followed was less a battle than a demonstration of precisely targeted medicine. Jenna moved through the chaos like a surgeon through an operation, each action precise and calculated. Her modified medical tools found weaknesses in Kravak's armor that no conventional weapon could exploit. "The interesting thing about being a doctor," she explained to a paralyzed Vexthor as the last of their guards fell, "is that when you know how to heal something, you also know exactly how to break it." Hours later, as rescue ships responded to their distress signal, Jenna stood in the medical bay one last time, documenting everything the Kravaks had been developing. Behind her, Raziel and the other freed prisoners prepared for evacuation. "You know," Raziel's static-filled voice observed, "most special operations teams would have just destroyed the ship." Jenna smiled, downloading the last of the medical data. "Destruction is easy. Precision? That takes a specialist's touch." She closed her medical kit, which had proven to be the most dangerous weapon on the ship. "Besides, I took an oath to do no harm." She glanced at the unconscious Kravak's troops, carefully incapacitated rather than killed. "I just never specified who I was avoiding harm to." As they headed for the rescue ships, Jenna couldn't help but think that somewhere, Hippocrates was either very proud or very confused. Probably both. But that was the thing about medicine, sometimes the best cure for tyranny was a carefully measured dose of chaos, administered by a doctor who knew exactly where to make it hurt.